they have motor parks and all that. So when there are no shops around, you can always go there to buy some. So it was on my way to get what she had sent me to get was what when I encountered the three men. And they pulled me into a mechanic shop where I know we used to buy food from. So I need to always go there every other day. And I remember that incident being there. When I was buying something and they said, oh, what's happening to you? You know, that kind of thing. I'm like, oh, so blood, I do, because it was my first. And my mother had fresh pepper pounded, kept for me. When I got it was a hot slap, tied my hands, carried the fresh pepper and rubbed in my freshly.
Wow.
When I wanted out, 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 when I wanted out of the relationship.
Hi, welcome again to another episode of the When I Wanted Out talk show. My name is Teleola Kola-Edun. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Now, on today's episode, we're discussing a topic titled Childhood Trauma and its Effect on the Decision of a Spouse. Now, our delectable guest who's going to be discussing this particular topic with us is Miss Kumari Allen. She likes to be addressed as a mindset therapist who helps young women heal from bitter experiences. Her story has been her message. Having endured trauma and anxiety from being raped multiple times, being maltreated by her mother, being a maid, being forced to eat dog remnants, being homeless, and then being divorced. Now she's an unapologetic single mother, and she's here to tell us that anyone can heal from abuse if only they can switch on the plug of their mind. Thank you very much, Ms. Kumari, for coming to join us on this episode.
Thank you so much for having me, sir.
Thank you. So, just from your bio, one is always just moved. Reading that bio, you're like, what really happened? Like, all this happens to one person. So can you tell us a bit of the trauma you experienced in your childhood? Like, walk us through. Just walk us through touch points.
We're going to stay here the next 20 years because it's a lot. But I'll just try to pick on the highlights and speak on them. My childhood wasn't really fun. I will tell you that for free. I tell people that I've experienced more sadness than I've experienced happiness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I grew up from a family where I grew up with my grandparents. So I wasn't so close to my mom. And the time I even had to be with my mom was another problem on its own. I was stabbed the witch where I was forced to confess something I know nothing about.
You were being called a witch?
Yes, I needed to confess. Confess to what? I don't know. I was beaten with iron, stick, name it. That passed. And I remember that my first experience of pain actually was when I was 5 years old. So I'd experienced pain quite early before I started experiencing pain in my teen years. And I remember that period, it wasn't fun. And each time I get back home to my grandparents, I never wanted to come back to my mom's place. But they kept saying, no, you have to go because they wanted us to bond. Since we lived in the same city, but we're not living together. So every weekend, my grandparents always took me to a house so that we can have that bond. But she didn't want me around, actually. So I saw that from the beginning, that I was a child who was not loved by her mother. So that stuck in my head. But yeah, I experienced love. I knew what love felt like because I had lots of love from my grandparents. I was a special child, the first grandchild. And you were Igbo, you know how they treat their first grandchild. Yeah. And then my grandparents had to relocate to the village, and he thought, okay, I think it's time for you to stay with your mom. And I just finished my junior WIWO. I don't know if they lied to me anyway, but they said I was going to go to school from her place, but I got there and there was no school.
Mom didn't send you to school?
No, there was no school. I rather became the maid because the maid, like, the very day I came to the house was the day the maid left. So I switched roles. And a few months later, we had the guest who came and became a spiritual guru. I practically would say that I was her specimen for practical deliverance, whatever. Yeah, so she was the one who prophesied that I was the witch in the house. It was a terrible experience. I was beaten with rods, confess, not confess, and all that. And she gave me 7 days to leave. And they put me on a 7 days dry fast. No water, no food. I was only supposed to take water at 12 a.m. 2 a.m. in the morning. That's to suppress my spirit from flying. Wow. Funny experience. But yeah, I grew through that. But the 7th day came, I didn't die. And she said, well, that God told her, according to her, that he had delivered me. He had given me another chance. And that was how the episode of witchcraft ended.
And your mom allowed that to happen?
Yeah, but that also gave my mother another reason, like pro-max. The hatred increased because of the prophecies that came alongside that drama. But that passed. But something else happened to me. We relocated from that city and to another city. I was 13. And I got raped by 3 unknown men. That night was a terrible night. It was so bad that just talking about it now, I could smile, but it wasn't that easy. Imagine being raped by 3 men and coming back home, meeting your mother with fresh pepper. She had already pounded pepper and Mobi insecticide down for me. And I got back. She had sent me on an errand. She wanted me to go buy something for her. It was late, about 10:30 p.m. thereabouts. So I went to the shop close to the house and they were closed. I came back, they're closed. You know, that kind of, I'm used to those shops. She sent me to go to a location where they are always open, like a bus stop. No matter how late the night is, there are always people there to sell to you. Like they have motor parks and all that. So when there are no shops around, you can always go there to buy some. So it was on my way to get what she had sent me to get when I encountered the 3 men. And they pulled me into a mechanic shop where I know we used to buy food from. So I need to always go there every other day. And I remember that incident, being there. And after the 3 of them had their turn, I still went back to buy what I was sent. Luckily for me, the money that she had given me, I put it inside my bra top, so it does, because I didn't have pocket. So at the time I got home, even with the blood on my body and all that, I didn't even know I had blood. It was when I was buying something and they said, oh, what's happening to you? You know, that kind of thing. I'm like, oh, so blood, I do, because it was my first. And my mother had fresh pepper pounded, kept for me. When I got it was a hot slap, tied my hands, carried the fresh pepper, and rubbed in my freshly. Wow. Wow. I used the insecticide on my eyes and my private part. I don't know whether she was trying to kill someone. Mosquitoes inside of me. It's funny to talk about, but it was a terrible experience. So yeah, like I said, the experience worse than that. So it was just part of the life experience I had to go through. Then I didn't know what had happened, but 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. And how did I find out? There are some university ladies on my street who I usually go help them cook a lot. So I help them tidy up their place. They just liked me, and I wasn't in school at the time. So when my mom goes out, I go there to find help and get paid some little money. And she noticed that something had changed. That was the first time I had pregnancy. She's like, she liked me so much, and she, I'm disappointed on you. I didn't tell anybody because there was nobody to tell. I couldn't have told my mother because she wouldn't even believe me first of all. So I had to tell this lady what happened, and she gave me notes. I went to where the address she sent me, which was the hospital. So before I was 14, I had an abortion. On the day I got home, I was raped.
From the day you got home?
From the abortion.
Wow.
The day I got home, feeling chills. We had an uncle, my stepfather's nephew, who lives with us. This is actually going to be the first time I'm going to speak this out. And he and his friend were home. So I'd gone, as usual, to give them food. And as I got into the room, they were tipsy, actually. So I can know that now that they were tipsy, looking back there. And they dragged me inside the room. And one of them said, because I was wearing the pad, doctor did not have told me, okay, put the pad. So I was wearing pad. Like, she's even on her period. This one, I don't want sweet pasta. But I was a child that didn't have a voice, that no matter what I said, my mother wouldn't have listened to me. So they know that, hey, you tell your mama, you may go see answer, you know, that kind of thing. And they had their tongues on me in that pain. So yeah, I stood up, cleaned up, went back, took the drugs that the doctor gave me. That was how, like, fine. That same year again, I got raped. So 3, 2, 1. So I knew that there was never going to be a fourth one because it's over. Because if the first one is 3, the second one is 2, the third one is 1. So nothing again is going to happen. And that was a friend's house that I went to, and she literally was outside the door. Her cousin was inside. Pulled me to the bed and told me to sing for him. Imagine somebody forcing himself on you and telling you to sing. And I'm not singing, you are slapping. And my friend was out the door, smiling and laughing. She had set that up. I don't know how much somebody would have gone through that. But something kept me going. I knew that my pain was never going to define who I would become. And one incident pulled me stronger when the lady Tokumba Ajayi died. And I smiled, I said, just one. Nah, people need to know that they can go through this pain. Because she was already an adult.
What happened with her story?
The story that we heard, she got raped and she killed herself, basically. I think that was the newscaster at that time had said. Okay. I think this happened in 2000.
Okay.
Right. And I admire her a lot because I just wanted to be like her. She was pretty and just good. And when I heard she died, I said, no, I need to start speaking or telling my story. That's when I started talking to young people that no matter what you go through, you can come out of it. She's matured. And at the time I went through this, I was younger. I was 18. But here, with people come out from different background, I was already used to pain, so it was no big deal for me.
Adversity cushion.
Yeah, quite no big deal for me. And another thing that helped me was I found myself early enough. I knew that this story, this thing that's happening to me, it wasn't just going to be just any story that would die. It was something that was going to help other people come out from their pain. It's a lot to talk about.
I even just the little that you have shared, it's wow, mind-blowing. How can one person, one child experience this much? So we've heard this story. We've just a little bit. I'm sure you just gave us a little tip of it. I want to take a quick break and want to go deeper as to how all of this affected your decision on who you got married to. So be right back.
When I wanted out, 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 when I wanted out of the relationship. When I wanted out.
Welcome back. We're still talking to Miss Kumari Allen on her really sad story. I know, so sad. But before we get into how this trauma affected your life to the point of choosing wrongly, in terms of your spouse, I wanted to understand, why was it that your mom was never the person you could go to when you had serious issues happen to you like this?
My mom and I, we never had that bond because, like I said earlier, I grew up with my grandparents. My mom and my dad had divorced, and she had started a new life. She had married and had other kids. So I think why we don't have that, I was like the not person to be among the mist. And you get that child that we don't want. I was not the classy one. They were there, but they bought our children. So I was the grandma's side. So each time I come to the house, I always had that, don't sit on this chair. How dare you sit on that chair? That kind of feeling. So that's where that hate started from. So we didn't bond.
So you just never had anybody to talk to?
Bond so much. And my grandparents, like I said, had at the point of this whole drama, they were far in the village. And then there was no phone, so there was nobody you could talk to. And I was the first child, just my mom, my siblings. I was more like the maid in the house. I could take care of every other person. Nobody was taking care of me. So I could just, like, the lady I spoke to was like the only person I could even have talked to at the time.
So that is the university?
Yes. There was no bond. There was no, when someone doesn't give you that opportunity to talk, you can't talk. So my mother and I were not, there was no bond. So there was nothing. So even if I had said anything, I didn't think she'd have taken me seriously. So I kept it all to myself.
And I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, but I know I know you come out stronger, and that's what you're here to talk about.
I'm happy about that.
So now, all of these experiences led up to you choosing, because in your bio, we hear that you're divorced. So it means that the marriage you didn't last. And listening to you, it was clear that it was all of these experiences that affected your ability to. So how did that happen?
One thing trauma does to you is that when you don't heal properly, you begin to find an escape route. Again, for me, it affected my decision because I just wanted to marry. I just wanted a home because I didn't have a home. I just wanted, a man to love me. I just wanted my own family and just leave these people alone and stay on my own. And that affected my decision of a spouse. And even though I married a man who's not a bad man, but I didn't understand who I was as a person, who I wanted to truly become. Because if I knew that, I probably, almost wouldn't have married the man I married, right? I didn't, because all those rape incidents and all that, I didn't understand who a man was. I just know a man. You have a man and a husband. I didn't know it was bigger than just having a man as a husband. You get, so marrying him, there was no feeling, I wasn't attracted to him.
So that's clear how the trauma played out.
Yeah.
Because, having been raped, intimacy, connection, attraction to men, it might have struggled a bit. Yeah, so that's how trauma kind of plays out in marriages.
Yeah.
At least that kind of trauma.
But in this case, I'd been with other people before I met him. It wasn't like that. But for his own kid, marrying my ex-husband was basic. I wanted to prove a point to my mom. I just wanted an opportunity for her to just see me and love me. Like, I just wanted to prove a point to her that I took her married, because she was making it like, oh, you can't marry, that kind of thing. And I've grown. I'm not an adult. You still have this kind of hatred for me. So I wanted her to just feel that, oh, if marriage was it, then I took her married. So that was why I made that decision based on that, on the incident I was facing at the time.
Right.
You get to. I had to play. I used my life to play chess, because I was trying to
Buy and get your.
So if I understood that, I didn't need to prove anything to you. Whether you like me, you don't like me, I don't need to get into a bad decision. So you get it. I knew from the onset I didn't like this man. I knew from the one. You get, but you know that
Just when mom prove a point to mommy.
yes.
Right. So now looking back, you're healed.
Perfect.
You can stay here, tell that story without shedding a tear. What are you gonna say now about your life's work in helping people switch on the plug in their mind? Switch it. This thing does not define you. It doesn't break you. It doesn't kill you. And you can come out of it. And how do we talk to those girls or those women that have been through something similar and making sure that they actually have a marriage that works?
I've heard a lot of people talk. I've been spoken to people for the past 10 years, and I see them carrying so much pain. I understand that, because I had so much pain in my heart for years. Even though I had healed time from this thing, I still carry that burden. I'm like, why did I have to go through this? I didn't have to go through all this. And I see people carry that burden and just stay there. They cry there. They are not willing to move, because they just feel that because this had happened to me, my life should shut down. You cannot let the past determine the future, because you're going to just hinder what tomorrow brings. And there's something big. I tell people I smile through my pain, not because I'm not hurt, but because there's something smile does. It gives you hope. When you're down, just smile. You just see that you begin to
Set off some
shadow
hounds.
Yeah, exactly. But what we do is that we go through incident and we hold on to it. And that's what causes, because trauma starts from an incident that like an injury, that if you don't care for it, you have bacteria, you have, that's where you get all those, and it starts spreading. That's what it does. So you've got to heal from that part. And nobody can help you. You have to be, and know that this thing has happened. And once you can't change it, that's what happened. I couldn't change the fact that I was being raped. So why do I have to cry over this thing and let my tomorrow suffer? So I had to push. I had to tell another thing that helped me was, you have to connect to a higher source that is bigger than you. God was my source. I knew that I needed somewhere that was something that is strong. It's like if you're a Christian or a Muslim watching this, just make sure you connect to something higher than you. That's how you can flow. That's what helped me a lot. So connecting to God, yes. It's very my source from God.
So now someone that doesn't have a voice and she's about to get married, I actually do know of a person that was raped, and when she got married, she couldn't consummate the marriage for months. Months. She didn't want the guy to touch her, and the guy was quite patient, but how many men can put up with that level of trauma that you will bring to the marriage, and he can't have sex and he's legally married to you?
Yeah. I didn't have sex with my husband. I had sex 3 times.
So that's the effect of the trauma.
Well, that's because I wasn't attracted to him. So I wasn't ready to play ball. So that's how it happened.
Okay, so now a young girl now, what should she do?
You need to find yourself and heal first
before you get married.
Before you get, because if you don't get healed, you're going to get into Again, like carrying dirt and entering a clean place, you're going to stain the whole environment.
That's right.
You're going to mess up the place. So even if, no matter if I go into mud and come into, you will see stains. You can't, you have to be,
It will affect.
you have
Yeah,
to be
this actually, even just to bring this to a conclusion, I heard this analogy of having a bad egg and then having a good egg. The bad egg was broken and mixed with a good egg. But the bad egg, of course, would overpower
even if
the
you
good
have
egg.
20 eggs and just
One bad egg, exactly. And the smell and the stench of that bad egg
So,
just threw over the good. So if you have trauma in your life, you know that you're dealing with something that you have not been willing to share or deal with, experiences, situations that have happened to you, you have to be intentional about fixing it before you get married. It's always going to show somehow. It's going to come out, and it's not going to ensure longevity of your marriage. I do hope that this session with Ms. Komari has helped someone find the strength to be able to speak out. And if you do need help, I'm sure Ms. Komari would always love to listen and help, because her job is to help with the mind. I do hope this has been really helpful, and I'm thankful for your courage and for your strength to be able to come out and share this with pretty much the world. So thank you for watching. We do hope that we'll see you same time next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
When I wanted